Yo, what's up? Okay, so I've got some more things to talk about, but before I do that, I have a tip for you to make your headphones never, ever get tangled up again. And I've been using this for like 2 months now, so I know that it absolutely works. Take your headphones, okay? Fold them up. I do it into thirds, but like I find that the best length is usually about this much. Right here. I don't know how long that is. Maybe 6-8 inches. Take this loop. Tie this in a knot with itself. This will never ever get tangled in your pockets. Fold it right there, put it in your pocket, and you're done. Unfold, take it, just undo that knot, and you're golden. I swear to God. They tie all of their cords like that this way. I came into my first share house, and the lamp cord was tied that way. And I'm like, why do they do that? And then I started doing it myself, and I'm like, I have been enlightened. Okay, so, yeah. Stuff is continuing, and everybody in the world is continuing to get more and more worried and more panicked about the now officially labeled pandemic disease by the World Health Organization. I only state that so that I can help define for you guys, anybody out there who doesn't yet know, what a pandemic is and why it's not necessarily something you should be super worried about. A pandemic has nothing to do with how dangerous a disease is. It's only about how infectious it is or how much it spreads. So the fact that they've now labeled it as a pandemic doesn't mean it's way more dangerous. It means the way that countries are trying to respond to it has changed a little bit. And that's why in countries all around the world, you now have large public events, gatherings being canceled, sports events being canceled, festivals being canceled. It's not because it's the end of the world, it's because governments are trying to stop gatherings of large amounts of people where a contagious disease can spread. And we don't have a vaccine for this thing yet. It's not something to get all doom and gloom about, and I would advise you not get doom and gloom about it, because life can continue. It's like, some people's jobs or businesses will be impacted by this, but nobody plans for something like this to happen. Try to keep from going outside and going to big group gatherings for a while. There are several groups of scientists in the world who've already isolated the virus. They're already working on a vaccine for it. Cases are still going to be spreading naturally, but the whole point of the social distancing is this graph, which I'm gonna go find because I know I found it before. One of the times I've seen this graph came from an Obama tweet, which doesn't make it any more valid. It means hopefully a bunch of extra people saw it that way. You just want to delay the point where the most amount of people have it. Because if that point hits really early on, then it surges past where hospitals are able to handle it, past where medical staff are able to have the resources to deal with it. And if they're already over the line, then if anybody gets in a car crash or a gunfight or anything like that, that's just extra strain on the resources. If you spread it out so that governments and medical facilities are better able to handle the load over a wider area, then the infrastructure doesn't overload. Which means, yes, this all has a light at the end of the tunnel. I know it seems like it's getting worse every week something goes on. It's not actually getting necessarily worse, it's just that more tests are getting out and more cases are being known. These cases have probably been around for the past 2 weeks, and there are people who are carrying the virus right now and not showing symptoms, which is another reason you want to socially distance. You could be a carrier, I could be a carrier, you could be, whatever it is, and not know it until after you've already come into contact with a lot of different people who may be immunocompromised, who may be particularly vulnerable for any reason. As the vaccine gets worked on and as cases happen naturally and as people get over the initial panic, life will resume as normal. I hope everybody's taking this as an opportunity to educate yourselves a little bit on what good cleanliness habits are, and what would be nice things to have at a job in the case of unforeseen events. There's a whole lot of stuff that's happening right now, and a whole lot of companies that are opening up doors that they said were impossible in response to a pandemic, which means, yeah, they were kind of possible. It's just there's a lot of really shitty workers' rights and suppressions and stuff going down. We're just squeezing people unnecessarily. I hope that pressure comes about in a way that will be productive on the other side, and we can, hopefully get some good working habits or sick days for more low-level jobs in North America and across the world. I'm a little bit concerned about Japan here, too. It's because there's always been a culture of, even if you're sick, you go to work. And I feel like this is getting people to respond a little bit differently, but it's still a very heavy population center, and there aren't as many tests here as there are in other portions of the world. So, could be here too, it could be spreading around a lot. But the fact that the trains are largely empty these days, and that the public squares are largely empty, says that hopefully the public is at least taking the social distancing part seriously and trying to avoid coming into contact with carriers or spreading it if they themselves are carrying. On to some personal good news. I have the interview about whether or not I can get hired at Polygon to stay on this week. Fingers crossed that works out well. If that works, I think I'd kind of just like to stay here, maybe not go home until a bunch more of this has had a chance to blow over a bit. I hope that I get the position, because, even if it's an entry-level job, it's something that lets me stay in Japan, which lets me, continue to learn the language around the culture, which will just help me with my understanding of it, which is a big reason why I wanted to come here in the first place. And it's a job that's still letting me animate on a daily basis, which is more than I had in Alberta. That's 2 avenues of learning that I'm getting that make this a really exciting thing, even beyond just the job title. I have something written down here to mention $5 socks. I don't really have a nice way to work that into a segue, just that the konbinis here, they absolutely do sell really convenient stuff in every one of them, but not all of it is super conveniently priced. I needed socks, because all my socks are getting holes in the heels, and they had socks at the konbini, and I'm like, hell fucking yeah, I'm gonna get these socks. They were like 500 yen. I get home and I open it up and it was only 1 pair. I don't know why I was expecting that it would be more than 1 pair, but it was only 1 pair of socks, and I paid basically $6 or $7 for it. So get your socks from a clothing store, not from a konbini. If you ever come to Japan, little hot travel tip there. Do with that what you will. I am now going to head off because I need to edit this. I still don't think there were any questions from last week, but I need to spend the rest of my day here doing more Japanese study. I had a session with my tutor last night. I want to get through another chapter of the Pokemon manga. God damn, I'm so happy that work has a bunch of these that we can borrow. It's such good reading practice. And maybe do another level of Mega Man Zero here. Thanks guys for tuning in. Don't be doom and gloom. The world isn't ending. Wash your hands. Do the little elbow bump. Instead of shaking hands, do the elbow bump, elbow shake. That works really well. Don't stock up and hoard things, because that's just making it worse for everybody. I'm just lecturing right now. I'm just trying to give you a couple of little tips to get through life. If you know any of these, or if you know any smart tips on ways to get through something like this, or general practices that maybe aren't public knowledge, either do me a favor, either say it in the comments for anybody else who's watching this video, or better yet, maybe go spread it around to the people in your everyday life. Try to get that knowledge to as many real physical people. We're all real and physical, but as many people in your life as you can. Because maybe they'll spread it too, and maybe that will collectively calm down all the fucking Karens of the world, alright? Alright. I'll see you guys next week.